Welcome again to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, a weekly program that's aired on Channel 24, and we want to, as we begin each of our programs, give a shout out to different people in our community. First of all, I just want to shout out to my family, as well as members of the Universal African Peoples Organization, the Central Committee of the organization, which I cited last week, Safia Siobhan, Queen Zia, Reverend Esther McCowan, Amari Sinifru, Gwen Cockshell, as well as Queen Zulu, as well as to you, Henry Dumas and Renee Ankh and George Harris. And each week I'll be naming different people that I want to shout out to. So tell your friends that Conversations with Zaki Baruti is on. This evening conversation I'm looking forward to in terms of with a very beautiful and lovely young lady who has an extensive background in filmmaking and writing. And that's the lovely Miss Coffee Wright. How you doing?
How are you, Zaki?
I'm really great, and I'm really honored to have you on our program. In fact, I normally don't do this, but I'm drinking coffee, in the spirit of coffee, okay? And here's to, also on my cup, I say, keep calm and carry on. So that's my message to the people for this evening. So,
great message. Great message.
With that said, share with our audience a little bit about you so that they'll know who Coffee Wright is.
Well, I'm an independent filmmaker. I do union and non-union films. I believe everyone has a story to tell. So what my goal is to capture everyone's story. Whether you want to put it in a book, you want to put it in a film or a TV show. There's so many stories out here that are going to the grave with people, and I don't want that to happen. I want our stories to get out here. And when I say our stories, I'm speaking of the little people. I'm speaking of Black and African Americans especially, because so many of our stories are hidden, and we've done so much to contribute to America and just contribute to the progress of society as a whole. And I believe these stories need to get out there. So
have you have part of your record, could you provide some names of some of the films that you have created?
Well, sure. I've produced and directed several different independent films, as well as a lot of videos and documentaries. The latest thing that I was involved in is a St. Louis pioneer, Mr. Clifton Wilson. I was able to do a piece on him. He did a letter to the president, to Barack Obama, and I was honored to do that. For those of you who are not aware of Clifton Wilson, please just go to YouTube and you can put in his name, Clifton Wilson Sr., and you'll hear his letter to the president. But also, you can Google me, I'm Googleable. So if you Google me, you'll see a lot of my work, also an independent movie database, as well as YouTube. Just put in Coffee Wright STL, and that's for, St. Louis. One of my pieces that I'm really proud of is Killing Me Softly, starring John Witherspoon and a couple other people, and that was based on a true life abuse situation. Something that is faced a lot in the community. And a lot of times we see it so much that we look at abuse as just another fight. And it's way beyond that. It shouldn't be just another fight. So I'm back here in St. Louis. I've been back here a while. I have an organization called SLICE, St. Louis Inner City Culture Center Enterprise. And that website...
Would you repeat that?
I'm sorry, St. Louis Inner City Culture Center Enterprise. The website is SLICE, SLICCCE.com. That's SLICE with 3 C's. And, we're not trying to get the whole pie or the whole cake, just a slice will do.
I know that's right.
Okay.
I know that's right. Also, you have made some appearances in some Hollywood movies, have you not?
Absolutely. I've gotten a chance and opportunity to work with Denzel Washington. Did a lot of small roles in big films and a lot of larger roles in smaller films, but Devil in a Blue Dress is one of my claim to fame. I've also had a small part in Tupac's, his first film, Gridlock. Just numerous different, Robert Townsend, worked with him, had a small part in The 5 Heartbeats, and few words, and it's normally five lines or so. But there are union productions, and I'm proud of them. Still get residuals for it, so hey.
Hey,
that's important.
And you were in Hollywood, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, going back to your organization, explain the purpose of your organization, and that's an interesting acronym, SLICE. I like that in terms of when you say have at least a slice of some of the goodness out here, I would assume that you would be pushing.
Absolutely. Again, SLICE is, I'm targeting high-risk people. I'm targeting anybody and everybody that has a story to tell. What I'm trying to do, and what I'm doing, I'll say, is bringing Hollywood to St. Louis. So many people think, oh, you have to live in California, you have to do this, do that in order to make a movie. Oh, I can't make a movie that costs millions and billions of dollars. It doesn't. I mean, they can spend those type of budgets, don't get me wrong, but every movie isn't a Star Wars. But it doesn't mean that it won't have that same impact. And so I try to focus on movies that are uplifting, movies that will show us in a good light, will bring out a lot of stories, just like Hidden Figures, for instance. I mean, why is it that it's taken this long for that story to be told?
Now, you're jumping ahead of the script. I'm most definitely want to refer back to that movie, Hidden Figures, and get into the dynamics of it, because you had recommended me seeing that movie.
I did.
Which I did see, and it was an excellent movie, which I would encourage everyone to see. So to that end, though, in terms of also, just share very briefly before we take a break, the fact that you made a kind of like a first in the history of the city of St. Louis with a program that you put on during the summer. Share with our people very briefly.
Juneteenth, everybody. Juneteenth is America's second day of independence.
It's second day of
independence.
Meaning what?
Meaning the 4th of July is America's first day of independence. It's when Britain gave the United States their independence. But Juneteenth is when...
Or rather that the United States declared its independence.
It declared its independence. You know, and they signed that Declaration of Independence in 1776. Thomas Jefferson, all those signatures it took.
Okay, and what did you do that was historic in the city of St. Louis?
For the city of St. Louis, we did our first Juneteenth parade.
Okay.
We did our first Juneteenth parade. It's the 151st anniversary. Miss Frankie Freeman was honored as our queen, and Mr. Dick Gregory was our king. And this was St. Louis's first Juneteenth parade, and we're very proud of it. We had an awesome turnout you all. So, you know, we're looking forward to doing it every year. We invite all the city, county, everybody to come out and join us in the next parade this year. So Juneteenth, again, we're celebrating. It's actually a holiday in the state of Missouri since 2003, Zaki.
Okay. And so with that, on that point, though, we're going to take a break and we'll come back to that Juneteenth, and then we'll move forward on the discussion around Hidden Figures. We're back with Conversations with Zaki Baruti, and I'm sitting across from the lovely Coffee Wright, a great filmmaker and writer. And we were just discussing Juneteenth. So you plan on making this an annual event? Absolutely.
It'll be an annual event for all the businesses, all the residents, everybody. It's for everybody. I don't care if you're Keisha, the kitchen beautician, or Obama, the highest politician. I think we all should be able to get together on the same platform, on the same ground, and just network.
So to that end, though, so there's clarity for our audience. You were saying there's two Independence Days. One was July 4th, 1776, in terms of the 13 colonies declaring their independence from the United States. And Juneteenth is the Independence Day. Explain that. Okay, it's when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. So it actually Juneteenth started in Texas. And they celebrated really big in Texas. It's celebrated large in New York, California, everywhere. But St. Louis has been celebrating, acknowledging it, but not on a major level. 4th of July, everybody, the whole sky is lit up with fog and smoke, and everybody's going out to get their fireworks. But enough people aren't recognizing Juneteenth. So what I'm trying to do is create awareness. Now, Sabe Ya has been giving Juneteenth performances on Maffitt for over 10 years. And then also Fountain Park has a Juneteenth celebration. But this year we had 7 different Juneteenths. We had Farrakhan out in Wellston. We had Yakene Man did one for Ferguson. We had Southside Forever did the Southside. And so what I would like to do is see all the Juneteenth organizations get together, participate in the one parade, and then we can, go to our own parts of towns if we want, to continue on. So in terms of, again, clarity for the audience, in terms of 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. That was a statement that was to, in effect, free black people who were still enslaved, as opposed to the Declaration of Independence, in which basically white men declared their freedom from England.
Absolutely.
Because as an extension of that, and in terms of when the history of this country, and the Constitution was only white men, I believe, were able to vote accordingly. So you're saying then, in essence, this Juneteenth celebration is geared toward basically the celebration of black people being free. Is that correct?
Celebration of black people being free.
Or supposed to be free.
Supposed to be free. And actually in Missouri, they had to go back. That's what the 13th Amendment came in. They had to go back in December 18. Missouri didn't apply to Missouri, Delaware, and the surrounding, the 4 bordering states. So they had to go back with the 13th Amendment in December of 1865.
Okay, okay then, but I guess we can get into, and I'm going to encourage people to do a little study around that at that point, because the 13th Amendment, in my memory, was the amendment that declared black people to be free.
Absolutely. So, the ones that weren't free. Everybody wasn't free in 1865, and Missouri was one of the last states. Okay
then. Moving on from there, and we're going to turn to being a movie critic right now. And the movie that we're going to be looking at is a movie called Hidden Figures. You had called and encouraged me to go see the film, as I had made mention earlier, which I did do. And I found that to be an excellent movie. But why did you encourage me to go, first of all? And give the audience a scenario of that particular movie, because it has so many different, in my opinion, social and cultural connotations that everyone that's listening and viewing this program ought to go out and see that movie.
Well, Hidden Figures, if you haven't seen it, it's a movie that is showing the 3 black genius females. I mean, these women were mathematicians beyond. I mean, they were scientists. They were the first 3 scientists, black female scientists for NASA.
And NASA is?
NASA Space.
It's the National Aeronautics Space Agency.
Absolutely. And the thing is it's showing how their contribution just made a whole difference for this whole world, actually. Not only for the United States, which led to their mathematics skills contributed, was the astronaut going into the first astronaut going into orbit from the United States. Basically, that's what happened. And if it wasn't for Miss Catherine, who was one of the main females in the movie, Taraj played her role. If it wasn't for her mathematics skills, the astronaut would not have went to space. I mean, he specifically requested that he wanted her to check the computer's error before he would give the go to going up to space. And that says a lot. And it's too many and too often that black women and blacks, period, are being left out and overlooked for our achievements and our efforts that we're doing to make America great.
But again, let me also put the movie in context historically. I think in the latter part of the 50s, 1950s, Russia and the United States, they had been engaged in what is called the Cold War, and Russia was able to send a spaceship called Sputnik into space that circled the Earth.
Right.
And then subsequently after that, they were able to put the first cosmonaut, as they called, into space. And then that really threatened the United States in terms of its position as one of the world leading powers. And to that end, the United States began to a crucial effort to capture space and go into space. So with that said, we're going to continue that dialogue in terms of some of the social implications after this. All right, we're back with Conversations with Zaki Baruti and Coffee Wright. Before we continue, I want to make a correction. I said in terms of NASA is the National Aeronautics Space Administration. So I want everybody to be clear. Now, at the end, just before we went to a break, I was laying out in terms of the historical background of the space race, in which Russia was the first country to go into outer space, at least circling the Earth, and then also send a cosmonaut there. And then the United States began an effort to catch Russia and try to surpass. And they had a number of failures with different efforts to get into space.
Absolutely.
And I was shocked, though, did not know, and I'm a student of history, of the number of black women, and have no idea of black men, but the number of black women that was part of the agency. And that's very interesting that at this point in time in history, since that was in the early, late 1950s and early 60s, that here we're finding the majority of American people, black and white, are finding out that there were some really important people that helped push the program forward.
Absolutely.
To be able to put somebody in space in terms of the United States, and from there it has gained so much other exploration per space. So to that end, why do you think that? Why do you think we did not know? And my friends out there who's viewing us, Bill and Bob and what have you, did not have any idea about that component of NASA with as many black women that they would see in the movie.
They referred to those women as the computers in skirts, by the way. And it was, well over 30 women that we know of. But I think we had no knowledge of it, as we are hidden. A lot of our history is hidden from us. Whether we're being underestimated for one, and just plain pure racism. As simple as that. I mean, you have to call a spade a spade. It's plain pure racism. And am I saying every white person is racist? No. But a lot of the decision makers are and have been. And so that's what's been holding us back. That's what's been keeping their foot in our necks. And so the thing is that that movie clearly shows if you give us the opportunity, we can take the ball and run with it. We are not, we may be ignorant people to a certain extent, but everybody's ignorant on certain things. That's just lacking knowledge. But we're very intelligent. So if we have access to the material, we can take the ball and run with it. You see in the movie how one of the ladies, she went to the library and they didn't have the information available in the black library, in the black section. She had to go to the white section to get the information about that she needed to outdo the computer and learn how to program the computer. And what I love about that is more so than I see a lot now. Back then, they looked out for each other. When her skill was recognized and her white supervisor wanted to promote her because they needed her, she already was prepared. She said, "Hey, you need all of us."
So again, going back to historical background, one of the realities that was existing at the time that the young ladies were there was the system that was called segregation.
Absolutely.
And within that context of the segregation, instead of being equal, separate but equal, many times different institutions were separate but unequal.
Unequal, absolutely.
So within that movie, I found it very interesting, and at some point in time, maybe we'll have you back on in terms of the fact that one of the co-stars, the female co-stars, one of her husbands, she eventually was married to a person who was in the U.S. In the U.S. military.
Absolutely.
And I found that interesting in terms of throughout the history of America, black people have served in the military and other that have helped to develop America, yet the kind of treatment that they were receiving during this period of time, and some will argue today, same thing as existence, especially when you have homeless black veterans that are out here walking the streets.
That's right.
And one of the good things about New Life Evangelistic Center, they be taking them in to, get them off the street, that those are some real deep issues that need to have a national discussion. We'll be returning after this break. We only have a short time left. Again, we encourage you to go see everyone, black and white. In fact, when I was at the movie theater, most of the moviegoers for the movie I was seeing were white. So I encourage everybody to get out and see the movie Hidden Figures. I want to go back to something real quick in terms of Juneteenth. I know you're a poet also, and you have a poem that you'd like to share with our audience in terms of Juneteenth.
The Juneteenth anthem, and this is what it puts everything together. Up anxiously all night, New Year's Eve, awaiting to learn what our faith would be. Thousands of prayers went up for the blessings to come down, pleading to God, remove those shackles from our ankles now. Excited when it was announced, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Slavery would be abolished, read the documentation, effective the year of 1863 in the middle of June. Yes, freedom, freedom, all blacks' freedom was well overdue. December 18, 1865, the 13th Amendment finalized. Abolition of slavery in this nation. Cease human sales and forced labor on every plantation. Our ancestors' works, fight, and death should never be in vain. From this day forward, we uphold strength in our name. Recorded no official date, so we acknowledge the entire week. Proudly recognize our independence all 7 days. Worldly recognize, we honor Juneteenth.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Thank you.
So to that end, for people, so I know you plan on a major Juneteenth for this summer. How can they get in contact with you once again?
You can call the office direct at area code 314-769-6067, or you can email me at coffeewrightstl@yahoo.com, and go to our website at slice.com. That's SLICCCE.com. And keep up with us and see what's going on. We want everyone to join. I mean, our goal is to get as many people as possible to participate so we can practice each one, teach one, share knowledge, and just network.
Well, that's great, and I would also encourage people to support your effort, because I was in attendance to your last your event, Juneteenth, and as you say, it was well attended. You had a number of entertainers and as well as speakers addressing a variety of issues.
Thank you.
So, and I know that it is your prayer that Juneteenth become a household name in our communities, and
Absolutely.
I salute you for that particular effort. So to that end, I know that we want to encourage, again, people to support the Juneteenth effort, but also go see Hidden Figures, and within your family as well as social organizations, have some discussion about the different issues that were raised in there. And so to that end, again, you've been listening to Zaki Baruti, Conversations with Zaki. Tune in next Saturday.